James Dean names the gay actors of old Hollywood he dated in secret. James Byron. Dean was born on February 8, 1931, in Marion, Indiana. His early years were marked by a deep emotional wound. His mother, Mildred, the person he felt closest to and who nurtured his artistic leanings, died of cancer when he was just 9 years old. This loss left an indelible scar, a void that some biographers argue he spent his entire short life trying to fill. His father, Winton Dean, seemingly unable to cope with raising the sensitive young boy, sent James to live with his aunt and uncle, Hortense and Marcus Winslow, on their quiet Quaker farm in Fairmount, Indiana. Life on the farm was stable and loving, a stark contrast to the emotional turbulence Dean experienced earlier. He engaged in typical farm activities, participated in school sports, and seemed outwardly to adapt. However, beneath the surface, the boy from Indiana carried the weight of early abandonment and a complex inner world that struggled against the simplicity of rural life. He found refuge and expression in performance, participating enthusiastically in school plays and forensics. These early experiences hinted at the powerful need to connect and express himself that would later fuel his explosive talent on screen. He was a small-town kid with big city dreams, carrying a quiet melancholy and a fierce, burning ambition that set him apart. After graduating high school, the lure of California and the bright lights of Hollywood proved irresistible. Dean enrolled first at Santa Monica College and then transferred to University of California, Los Angeles, initially studying pre-law, a path suggested by his father. But the call of the stage was too strong. He quickly switched his major to drama, finding in acting a legitimate channel for his intense emotions and restless energy. His time at University of California was brief, marked by early attempts to break into the local acting scene with minor walk-on roles. Feeling the need for more serious training and greater opportunities, Dean made the pilgrimage to New York City in the early 1950s. This was the heart of the American theater scene and the epicenter of method acting, a revolutionary approach that demanded actors draw on their own personal experiences and emotions. Dean immersed himself in this technique, studying at the prestigious Actors Studio alongside a generation of actors who would redefine the craft. Under the tutelage of figures like Lee Strasberg, Dean found a framework for his intense vulnerability and his deep well of unspoken feeling. The method didn't just teach him how to act, it validated his internal world, making his own pain and sensitivity his most powerful tools. His years in New York were a classic struggle of the aspiring artist. He worked odd jobs, lived frugally, and chased every audition. Small roles in television anthologies, minor parts in plays, the constant grind of trying to be noticed in a city flooded with talent. He was known for being intense, sometimes difficult, entirely consumed by his art. He was also building a reputation for being unpredictable, magnetic, and utterly committed to finding the truth in his performances. This period of struggle was crucial. It honed his talent, solidified his dedication, and perhaps also solidified his tendency towards secrecy and leading a complex private life in a city that offered both anonymity and opportunity in its hidden corners. The payoff for his perseverance came in 1955, in a cascade of cinematic brilliance. Director Elia Kazan, who appreciated the raw, emotional depth of method actors, cast Dean as Cal Trask in his adaptation of John Steinbeck's East of Eden. Dean's portrayal of the troubled young man, desperate for his father's love and acceptance, was electrifying. It was a performance steeped in vulnerability and simmering rebellion, instantly announcing the arrival of a powerful new presence on screen. Dean earned his first Academy Award nomination for the role, setting the stage for what was to come. Later that same year, Rebel Without a Cause, directed by Nicholas Ray, was released. It was this film, and Dean's iconic performance as Jim Stark, the alienated teenager searching for belonging, that propelled him into the stratosphere of global fame. The red jacket, the brooding eyes, the palpable sense of youthful frustration and sensitivity. Dean didn't just play the character, he was the character, embodying the feelings of an entire generation. The film became a cultural touchstone, and James Dean became its enduring symbol. He starred alongside Natalie Wood and Sal Mineo, two young actors who, like Dean, were navigating the intense pressures of fame and, as later accounts would suggest, their own complex personal identities. His final film, George Stevens's epic Giant, saw Dean take on a different kind of role, portraying the rise of a Texan oil baron over several decades. His performance as the ambitious, ultimately lonely Jet Rink earned him a second posthumous Oscar nomination. In a staggering span of just over a year, with only 3 leading roles, James Dean had achieved cinematic immortality. He had become the face of rebellion, the symbol of misunderstood youth, a legend whose image was instantly recognizable worldwide. He was at the absolute apex of fame, adored by millions, analyzed by critics, and relentlessly pursued by the press. As the public clamored for details about their new idol, Hollywood's publicity machine went to work crafting a suitable narrative for James Dean's private life. The image presented was that of the intense, brooding artist, the unpredictable heartthrob linked to beautiful actresses. His most prominent public relationship was with the Italian actress Pier Angeli. Their romance generated significant buzz, appearing genuinely passionate in the few photos that circulated. However, according to various accounts, this relationship faced significant obstacles, not least from Angeli's strict mother and the potential interference of the studios who preferred to control their stars' personal lives. The breakup, which reportedly left Dean heartbroken, added to his public image as a sensitive soul wounded by love. Other actresses were linked to Dean, contributing to the image of the heterosexual leading man, a crucial requirement for stardom in the 1950s. Liz Sheridan, an actress Dean dated in New York, and Ursula Andress were among those mentioned. These relationships, whether genuine romances or partly orchestrated for publicity, served to reinforce the image the public expected and the studios demanded. However, even during his lifetime, those who knew Dean well noted a profound sense of mystery surrounding his private life. He was notoriously difficult to pin down, to truly know. He didn't easily conform to expectations, and his personal boundaries were fiercely guarded. This created a veil of secrecy that would later become central to understanding the full story of James Dean. For, as several sources claim, the public narrative of James Dean's romantic life was far from complete. Behind the facade of public dates and studio-approved romances lay a hidden world of secret connections, a world dictated by the brutal realities of old Hollywood and the intense personal needs of a complex man. This was a secret life, according to accounts that emerged after his death, that involved relationships with other men, specifically, other actors in Hollywood who were also forced to conceal their true identities. The claim is that James Dean, the magnetic star, was bisexual or gay, and engaged in romantic and sexual relationships with other male actors, navigating a dangerous, clandestine existence in the shadows of the Hollywood machine. William Bast's initial biography of Dean, published in 1956 shortly after his death, was affectionate but steered clear of controversial personal details, adhering to the public myth. However, decades later, in his memoir Surviving James Dean 2006, Bast made the controversial decision to be fully candid about their relationship and Dean's sexuality. Bast explicitly detailed a romantic and sexual relationship between himself and James Dean during the time they lived together. He described their bond as forged in shared struggle, ambition, and a deep emotional connection, which included physical intimacy. Bast stated that he felt it was important, finally, to tell the full truth about his friend's life, including his bisexuality, to offer a more honest and complete portrait of the complex man he knew. Bast's memoir didn't just reveal their own relationship. It also included Dean allegedly confiding in Bast about relationships with other men. According to Bast, biographers who have conducted extensive research into Dean's life, examining letters, interviews, and the context of the era, have also concluded that Dean was likely bisexual, even if the exact nature and extent of his relationships with men remain subjects of debate. The names of the actors Dean allegedly dated in secret primarily emerge from Bast's direct account, coupled with persistent rumors and the plausible connections drawn by biographers within the context of old Hollywood's hidden gay subculture. The most legendary and frequently whispered name in connection to James Dean's private life is Marlon Brando. Brando was, at the time Dean was making his way in New York, already a towering figure in the acting world, a pioneer of method acting, and an icon Dean deeply admired and looked up to. They moved in intersecting artistic circles, sharing teachers and acquaintances in the New York theater scene. According to William Bast's memoir, James Dean explicitly told him about a sexual encounter, or encounters, with Marlon Brando. Bast recounts Dean describing this experience, portraying it as a significant event for him, connecting with his idol on a profound, albeit clandestine, level. The dynamic, as suggested by Bast's account, was complex. A mix of artistic admiration, physical attraction, and perhaps Dean seeking connection and validation from someone he saw as a groundbreaking figure who also seemed to operate outside conventional norms. Imagine the weight of that interaction. Two of the most powerful, intense, and sensitive actors of their generation, both wrestling with fame, identity, and the expectations placed upon them, allegedly finding a hidden connection. For Dean, it could have been an exploration of his own sexuality with someone he trusted on an artistic level, a figure who had already forged a path of rebellious individualism. For Brando, a notoriously complex individual with documented relationships with both men and women throughout his life, Dean might have represented a kindred spirit, a fellow artist struggling with fame and personal truth. These alleged meetings and intimacy would have been shrouded in absolute secrecy. Brando, despite his rebellious image, was intensely protective of his private life, particularly any aspects that deviated from the public's expectation of a leading man. The sheer scandal and career destruction that would have resulted from the revelation of a relationship between these two titans of the screen in the 1950s is almost unimaginable. Bast's direct claim, though based on Dean's alleged confession to him, provides the most concrete link between Dean and Brando in this context. It paints a picture of a dangerous, thrilling, and perhaps emotionally complicated encounter between the idol and the rising star, a secret kept locked away for decades, adding a layer of forbidden intimacy to the legend of both men. Then there is William Bast himself. As mentioned, Bast was not just a friend or acquaintance. He was Dean's roommate and closest confidant during crucial periods of his life. Bast's later decision to detail their own alleged romantic and sexual relationship is central to understanding where much of the information about Dean's secret life originates. Bast's memoir goes beyond simply claiming Dean was bisexual. It states unequivocally that he and Dean were lovers. Bast describes their relationship as developing organically from their close friendship and shared circumstances in New York and later in Los Angeles. He recounts periods of intimacy, portraying their bond as a significant emotional and physical connection that offered Dean a space where he could potentially be more fully himself than he could with anyone else. If Bast's account is accepted as true, it means that Dean's primary confidant and the source of much biographical information about him was also intimately involved in his hidden romantic life. This adds a profound dimension to their friendship and to Dean's story. Their relationship, if it occurred as Bast describes, would have been a private sanctuary, a place where Dean could explore his desires and identity away from the crushing pressure of the outside world and the studio system. It was a hidden connection forged in shared dreams and necessary secrecy. Bast's candid account provides a first-hand perspective on Dean's alleged bisexuality, giving significant weight to his claims about Dean's other relationships with men. It posits that Dean's hidden life wasn't just a series of isolated encounters, but included a significant, intimate relationship with the person he was perhaps closest to. Another name often linked to James Dean, particularly in the context of his time making Rebel Without a Cause, is his young co-star, Sal Mineo. Mineo played the pivotal role of Plato, the sensitive, troubled friend of Dean's character, Jim Stark. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, portraying a deep bond and emotional reliance that has resonated with audiences for decades. The character of Plato is widely interpreted as gay, or at least having unrequited romantic feelings for Jim Stark, a groundbreaking portrayal for its time. Off-screen, Dean and Mineo also developed a close relationship. They were both young, intensely talented, and navigating the dizzying heights of sudden fame while grappling with personal identities that were at odds with the conservative norms of the era. Sal Mineo was gay, though he did not live openly or discuss it publicly until much later in his life. After Dean's death, given their shared circumstances, their intense connection on screen, and their documented friendship off-screen, speculation about a romantic or sexual relationship between Dean and Mineo has been persistent and widely discussed among biographers, film historians, and fans. While there may not be accounts as explicit as Bast's claims about Dean himself or Brando, the context is compelling. Two young, vulnerable actors, both potentially grappling with their sexuality in a deeply repressive industry, finding solace, understanding, and intense connection in each other. Their shared experience on the set of Rebel Without a Cause, a film that itself dealt with themes of alienation and identity, could have easily fostered a bond that crossed the boundaries of platonic friendship. Whether driven by emotional need, shared struggle, or physical attraction, was their relationship purely one of deep friendship and artistic camaraderie? Or did it include romantic or sexual intimacy, conducted in secret away from the ever-present threat of exposure? The enduring speculation is a testament to their palpable connection and the plausible reality of such hidden relationships in that era. Their connection, whatever its exact nature, was undoubtedly significant in Dean's life. A bond with someone who perhaps understood the specific pressures and loneliness he faced better than most. A name from an earlier generation, also linked to James Dean's alleged secret life, is the distinguished actor Clifton Webb, known for his sophisticated, sometimes acid-tongued portrayals in classic films. Webb maintained a carefully guarded private life, living with his elderly mother, but was widely understood within Hollywood circles to be gay. The nature of the alleged connection between Dean and Webb is often presented differently from the others. It's sometimes framed as a relationship of convenience, patronage, or even a form of mentorship that included sexual intimacy. Dean, a struggling young actor in need of connections, support, and perhaps a place to stay. Webb, an established star living a lonely, closeted existence, potentially seeking companionship or the company of younger men. There are accounts and rumors suggesting that James Dean spent time living at Clifton Webb's lavish home during his early years in Hollywood, seeking entry into the industry. Was this a purely professional arrangement, or did it, as some speculate, involve a transactional element? A common occurrence in the hidden gay world of old Hollywood where powerful, closeted figures sometimes provided support or opportunity to younger talents in exchange for companionship or sexual favors. While specific, verifiable details are scarce and often exist in the realm of persistent rumor and speculation, Webb's name consistently surfaces in accounts discussing Dean's private life and his alleged connections within Hollywood's hidden gay subculture. It adds another dimension to Dean's story, suggesting his relationships with men may have encompassed not just passion or deep connection, but also potentially involved the complex, sometimes compromising realities of navigating power dynamics and seeking advancement in a hostile environment. These names, Marlon Brando, William Bast, Sal Mineo, Clifton Webb, are the most frequently and prominently linked to James Dean's alleged secret life with other male actors. They represent facets of what biographers and those close to him suggest was a complex and significant part of his identity. It's crucial to understand that defining Dean's sexuality precisely is difficult, especially applying modern labels to a man who lived and died before such concepts were widely understood or accepted. Sources like Bast suggest Dean was bisexual, experiencing attraction and forming connections with both men and women. What is clear, according to these accounts, is that his private life included romantic and sexual relationships with men at a time when this had to be kept absolutely secret. The constant need for secrecy, the pressure to maintain a carefully constructed public image while living a profoundly different reality in private, must have exerted an immense psychological toll on James Dean. He was already a deeply sensitive, introspective, and often troubled individual, famous for channeling his inner turmoil into his explosive on-screen performances. The revelation of these names, the accounts from William Bast, Liz Sheridan, and the work of dedicated biographers, profoundly alters the way many people view James Dean. It adds a necessary layer of complexity, vulnerability, and tragedy to his already compelling story. It forces us to look beyond the iconic image of the cool rebel and see a man grappling with identity, loneliness, and the brutal realities of living in a time that demanded conformity and denied authenticity to those who didn't fit the mold. His alleged hidden relationships with other gay actors were not mere footnotes. They were, according to these sources, a significant part of his emotional and personal landscape, shaping his experience of himself and the world around him. As James Dean was completing his final film, Giant, his fame reaching unprecedented heights, he indulged in another passion that offered him a sense of control and release: competitive auto racing. He found focus and exhilaration in the speed and precision of driving. On September 30th, 1955, Dean was driving his new Porsche 550 Spyder, a sleek, silver sports car he had nicknamed Little Bastard, on his way to a race in Salinas, California. He was just 24 years old, at the very peak of his youthful promise, with a legendary career unfolding before him. Tragically, that journey was cut short, at the intersection of U.S. Route 466 and State Route 41. Dean was involved in a devastating head-on collision. The young star, whose life had burned so brightly, was killed almost instantly. The news of James Dean's death sent shockwaves around the world. It was a loss of immense talent and potential. A sudden, brutal end to a life that had just begun to fully blossom on the global stage. His death, in the eyes of many, cemented his legend. He would forever be the young, intense rebel, forever 24, forever immune to the ravages of time, aging, or the potential decline of fame. His image became frozen in time, an eternal symbol of youth, rebellion, and cinematic intensity. He died before he ever had to grapple with the long-term challenges of stardom, the shifting landscape of Hollywood, or the possibility of his most guarded secrets ever being fully exposed during his lifetime. James Dean's impact on popular culture is undeniable and continues to resonate today. His performances in East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, and Giant remain powerful and influential. His image is recognized globally, a timeless representation of cool and nonconformity. He was a truly unique talent, a force of nature on screen. James Dean remains an enigma, a captivating figure whose brief, intense life continues to be explored and debated. The secrets surrounding his sexuality and his hidden relationships with men only deepen his mystique and make his story even more compelling. They transform the iconic rebel into a more fully realized, complex, and ultimately tragic figure who, perhaps, was forever searching for a world where he could simply be himself, connect authentically, and love without fear. A world that, sadly, may not have existed for him during his lifetime, forcing him to live a life of profound artistic expression and equally profound hidden secrets. His story is a powerful reminder that behind the glittering facade of Hollywood lay human beings navigating immense pressure, striving for authenticity, and paying a heavy price for living a life that dared to deviate from the prescribed script.